A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express Papers Chandigarh edition. Now, from today's news analysis, the following topics come to light. So, one is the issue of role of governor, right? So, this is an important topic from GS2. Then, the issue of deep fakes. So, an image of Rashmika Mandana, a popular Bollywood actress, was morphed onto a social influencer's photo, not in a very good light, in an inappropriate way. So, the issue of deep fakes. So, again, we will look at the definition of deep fakes, risks associated with it, and mitigation strategy. So, this should be GS3, Science and Tech, and of course, if deepfakes is used to incite violence, then internal security. No matter what, it will be GS3. Technology and ethics, applied ethics, then it can be GS4. Okay. Prime Minister Modi dials Raisi, Iranian president. So the issue of Chabahar port diplomacy may be discussed. The basic reason for talking was West Asia, but we know the underlying cause, Chabahar diplomacy. Okay. Now, from 7 to 11 is editorial and opinion. So we hear about competitive populism today. Then the gender bias in criminal justice system. Then this one is important, Meta case in US. So Meta is the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, etc. So there is a court case against this company that the social media giant is targeting adolescent population, and it is having a poor effect on them. So what we can do is, from this we can take out the social media and the risks associated, something like that can be done. The one that is not mentioned here, it is China, Australia, thaw in relations, normalization of relations. Then some economy related topics. So coming to the first news, the first news from the front page is about odd even. So odd even is back in Delhi. So it will be done on an experimental basis for a period of 1 week, November 13th to November 20th. I think odd even should be clear to you. Odd number vehicles ply on a certain date, and then only even number vehicles ply on the road on certain dates. The idea is to reduce the vehicular traffic and thereby reducing the emissions. So it is a way of managing Delhi air quality. Now let's look at a bigger issue over here. So the issue now is that of the urban pollution. Right, so urban pollution, it's with Delhi and many other cities. India is one of the most, especially the northern part, one of the most polluted cities in the world. So the issue of urban pollution is important. Again, of course, GS3, environment, urban, etc. comes in GS3. So the reasons for urban pollution, mitigation strategies. So one we discussed, odd and even, having lesser vehicles. Then of course, use of e-mobility, electric vehicles. Then transit oriented development. So those things can also be done. Then besides this, cleaning, dust mitigation, like cleaning of the roads, periodic cleaning, use of sprinklers, managing of construction related sites. So that can be done. So these are other measures that can be covered. Okay. Now moving on. The next news is about GS2, which is polity. So let me explain this. Punjab legislature passed a series of bills. Now, when the legislature passes bills, in that case, the state governor can do the following. He can either give his assent and the bill becomes an act, it becomes a law. He can withhold his assent. And lastly, he can refer the bill to the president. So all of this is provided for in Article 200, right? The timelines are not specified, by the way. Okay. So this can be done. The governor was not doing neither of this. So the Punjab government decided to approach the Supreme Court. And just before going to the Supreme Court, the governor takes action on the bills. Now, there is this issue of the issue tension with the governor, and the role of governor comes to light. And we are seeing this not just with Punjab, any non-BJP state, basically more issues are coming from there. Now, Supreme Court's Chief Justice of India bench has remarked that governors are not elected representatives. They are basically nominees of the center, and they should act accordingly. They should not interfere with the governance. The governance function is mainly with that of the elected representatives of the state. But yes, one defense could be that the governors are the agents of the center at the state, and they have to look at the federal issues. And if the states are abiding by the constitution, that can always be an argument made. Okay. Now, as to the exam is concerned, so the role of governor and the exercise of discretionary powers by the governor. Normally, whichever issue that you see with the governor is with regards to the exercise of discretionary powers. Now, one theme that could be made is, which is hardly talked about, is codifying discretionary powers of the governor. So that can be there because the constitution is quite ambiguous on the discretionary powers. That may be done. So these are all themes on which we should prepare this topic. Then, when we talk about the governor, as I've said, he's the nominee of the center at the states. So the issue of center-state relations also come to light. In fact, we are seeing those states which are non-BJP, that is where it is happening. When the Congress was there, same thing was happening. Okay. Now, with regards to the center-state relations, and also they looked into the issue of governor, there are certain committees. Most famous is the Sarkaria Commission. This was followed by the Punchi Commission, and then second ARC. You don't have to read all. All of them have taken points from each other, right? Same points are mentioned. But when you're writing your answer, when you're giving suggestions, corrective, you can quote all these and then summarize the points one by one. Okay, this mountain climber was attempting to climb Mount Annapurna in Nepal. He had an accident, survived. Now he again wants to climb Mount Annapurna. And why am I saying this? Mount Annapurna is there in news. It's a physical feature. May be asked in the prelims. May, very slight chance. Okay, the government is doing a lot of work on millets. So here local news, the government, central government hospital. So millet clinic is being there, basically showcasing the advantages of millets. Now, millets, we have also been asked questions in the mains paper. So one was in 2018 and then in the later year. This is concerning the stubble burning. So satellite imagery has been released, which says that at the share of the farm fires, Punjab is leading 65%, Haryana's is 55, only 5%, and the rest is coming from other states like UP, etc. Right, so that is there. I don't understand. Sometimes they say this is the share. Sometimes they say that the share of Punjab has come down. In fact, this newspaper itself says so. Slightly confusing actually, but yes. Now, as to your exam is concerned, how can this be brought down? So that is what should be important to you. So stubble burning, the management of stubble, that is there. From governance also, from ethics also, that can be asked as a case study situation. That you have been tasked and in your place, a lot of stubble burning is taking place. How do you deal with this issue? So you have to talk about the changes in attitude, right? That's in your static syllabus also of ethics. So changes in attitude by persuasion, etc. So that should persuasion and social influence. So those statements should come in your pointers. In ethics, people don't score because they write very generic, while static component is covering everything. So those things have to be applied in your answer writing, in your case studies also. Okay. So explained section. So first of all, we have this Rashmika Mandana issue, deepfake issue. So you can see the social media influencer, her face, her face was replaced with Rashmika Mandana. and it looked fairly genuine actually. So this is an example of deep fake. Now, before going further, I think let me just tell you, you need to have a definition of deep fake. It is there in news. The government has come up with some ideas on dealing with deep fakes recently. So you should have, first of all, a definition, then risks associated, and then the mitigation strategy. So you should do this with deepfakes. So that is one. And you should also do this with generative AI, right? So both has to be done. So first of all, let us cover the deepfake issue. So definition is easy to find these days, right? To Google and everything. Okay. So deepfake is synthetic media, synthetic image, video that is created, which convincingly looks real by means of artificial intelligence. So that is deep fake. What are the risks? You can morph someone's image on the other, and it could be used in several ways. It can be used inappropriately. It could be with that of a famous political leader saying something which he has not said. It may be used to incite violence and hatred. It can be used to fan communal tensions. So you name it. So there are serious risks associated with it. And this technology is becoming more and more accessible, and it is improving from time to time. So this is a very serious threat. Now, what mitigation can be done? So recently the government came up with two ideas. So one was a directive to the social media company that in case of deep fakes, something like this, in that case, tracing of the first person who posted this message, first person, the messages keep getting forwarded. So the first person who did that should be traceable. Social media company had an obligation in implementing this because it violates the end-to-end encryption norm. The other thing is watermark AI. For example, this is the original one, this is the AI one. So there should be some sort of an indication that this image was made via AI. So some sort of watermark should be there. These are genuine regulations that were there in the news sometime back. Now, besides this, overall, to deal with artificial intelligence, some two important developments have taken place. So one is in UK. UK organized a summit known as Bletchley Park Declaration, or Bletchley Park Summit, and the outcome was known as the Bletchley Park Declaration. So it basically said that we need a global response, local and global response. We need a global institution to deal with this. Plus, it defined what are the risks associated with the artificial intelligence. So very vague actually, but yes, that's what we have. Then we have the Washington Plan. So this is what US had come up with. Washington Plan, we don't know the specifics, but they said that it is a template. Who said? The Vice President of Kamala Harris. So she says it is a template. Template means something that other countries can emulate or slightly modify, like we have templates in PowerPoint, etc. So that template plan. It again called for international institution. Some system should be there so that there should be global coordination in dealing with AI. So local plans, which is a template, and then a global institution should be there. Washington Plan, Bletchley Park Declaration, more or less similar. Okay, so this is there. Now, this is not specific to deepfake. It is for AI and associated risks. And what is AI's associated risks? So one is automation spurred job loss. So, first of all, there is this term known as generative AI, where AI generates text, images, and other media. So with this, that is the main AI risk actually. So automation will happen, text may be written, articles may be written, so less jobs. Secretary related work can be done by the AI itself. Monotonous works can be done by them. Okay. Deepfakes and privacy violations, right? Privacy violations can be there. We discuss more actually. Algorithmic bias and discrimination, socioeconomic inequality, market volatility, automation of weapons. So humans are not taking a call on the battlefield, but it is the AI. there may be ethical dilemma with that, right? So loss of meaningful control and human judgment over AI systems. We are already seeing autonomous cars. Now you can take the case of autonomous car also. For example, let's say a person is walking on the road and accident is imminent. Should the car save itself and the person sitting in the car, or should the car hit the person? Right? If there was no other option. So there are ethical dilemmas which have to be managed. And yes, one more thing that was in Washington plan was that algorithm that was made by these companies, this should be shared with the government. And this process is known as red teaming. If there is anything, then that thing can be changed, tweaked. Okay, next we have is odd even problem. I've actually shared the points in the first article itself. Very first news we covered this. Now we have national security strategy, which the government says it will come up with. We don't know when, but it will happen. So I've summarized the points over here. These are a bit different from here. I feel these points are more relevant from the ones that are mentioned over here. Reason being is these points are mainly focusing on traditional threats, while national security strategy is much wider in its application. Now let's come to the main points that have been there in the news. Government is coming up with this strategy, which will be framed by National Security Council Secretariat. What will it have? It will have the security objectives of the country, plus what are the threats India feels it has. So threats are both traditional. Traditional means militaristic mainly, and non-traditional, like use of civil society to create unrest, use of artificial intelligence, deep fakes, fake news. So these are non-traditional security threats, cyber warfare. Then what are the means? You know the threats, you know the objective, you know the threats. So how will India meet those objectives and threats, overcome the threats and meet objectives? So these are the main points. And one of the means have been categorically mentioned is that the government wants that we have to go by the whole of government approach. That is, it should not be seen from a military related spectrum, security threat, or policing function like home affairs, etc., but whole of government approach. For example, if we have more development, then obviously there is less possibility of unrest, tensions in the society and the polity. So whole of government approach. Every government institution has a stake in security. That is the idea. Prime Minister Modi dials Iran's President Raisi to discuss situation in West Asia. What is happening in West Asia? The Israel-Hamas violence. By the way, it's said that Israel is the sponsor of Hamas, and in Lebanon, Lebanon is in north of Israel. Here, there is the Hezbollah group. So Iran has a direct stake over here. Anyways, so India is dealing with this issue with them over at the moment. Okay, just a second. Okay, so fine. I lost my links right now. Yeah, so that issue. Now India has to balance with Israel, with this issue. If it is to take side with Israel, then these countries get offended, the Muslim countries. So that balancing India is trying to do. But besides this, India has an important stake with Iran, specifically when it comes to the Chabahar port diplomacy. Chabahar port diplomacy is an India-sponsored project in Iran. So you can imagine this is India, this is Pakistan, and Pakistan's neighbor is Iran. So if India wants to connect with West Asia through land, it is not possible. And if it wants to go from here to Afghanistan, etc., that is also not possible because Pakistan is not allowing access. So an alternative approach is from Bombay. There is a port created in Iran. So, ship goes from Bombay. It lands in a port in Iran. This port is being developed by India and it is known as Chabahar Port. From here, the rail lines would be there which will connect India with Central Asia. First, mainly with Afghanistan actually. So that is Chabahar port diplomacy. So that is one of the focus. Next is Iran, obviously an oil exporter. So trade in oil, energy security. Then again, buying this oil in rupee terms, these are India's interests because this country is in sanctions, so they may be willing to buy it in rupee terms. Now, it's a larger picture. This is part of India's extended neighborhood diplomacy or regional diplomacy. The extended neighborhood policy and neighborhood first policy are mentioned in your GS2 syllabi. Okay, there is an dam which is mentioned with regards to Telangana. This is known as Kaleshwaram project, and it is on the Godavari River. It is a multi-purpose project. It's a lift irrigation project and one of the largest in the world. So this is basically from prelims I'm telling you. Moving on, editorial page. So we have the first article, which is mainly concerning with Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So what this article is, first of all, it is telling us that the scheme provides for grains provides for food to the vulnerable sections at a very, very marginalized cost, very low cost it is providing. So it's a welfare scheme, which is providing for food security of crores of people, right? So now this scheme has been extended for the Prime Minister is saying it will be further extended for 5 years. That is the next Lok Sabha term. Okay. Now this BJP has done. When Congress was there in power, one of the last steps that they took was National Food Security Act. They brought in National Food Security Act, which would cover the food security of 3/4 of the Indians, according to 2011 census. So allocation was like 5 kg of food grains per person per month at very subsidized price, and the subsidized price is like rupees 3 kg for rice, 2 kg for wheat, like that. So very, very low cost. Now, if you look at this issue, Congress doing this, BJP doing extension of the scheme. So this is an example of competitive populism. In fact, respective state governments are also doing, trying to emulate the same at their own level. So this is an example of competitive populism. Now, these schemes, of course, one thing is that it puts a burden on the fiscal health of the country. And post-COVID, the fiscal deficit is at a high, at least at the central level, it is at 6.4%. Extension of these schemes will further worsen the situation. Today only we get to know about this. And the other thing is, the political parties, rather than delivering on hardcore subjects like public education, healthcare, agricultural research, right? So which takes time to yield. So they are focusing on giving ration, subsidy, revdi politics, as Prime Minister Modi himself says. So that's the underlying theme over here. Now we can recall one case at the Supreme Court wherein a petition was filed with regards to populist schemes the political parties announce, right, before elections with those manifestos, etc. They announce, and they sought election commission's view also and how they want to regulate this. So this was there in the news, and one of the things that came up was that some sort of a regulation should be there, that that election commission should say that whatever promises are saying, they are saying, so what will be the fiscal implication, where will the money come from, right? So what will be the after effects, all that has to be stated. Next, gender dimension, gender discrimination in the criminal justice system. Next article. Okay, so let's just focus here first. So there is this study from American Political Science Review. They have studied over 4 lakh FIRs in Haryana, right? And on that basis, they have come up with a report. So they have noticed that when it comes to women filing an FIR, right? Women, so it is less likely to be registered. So it is less likely to be registered if a woman is filing an FIR. So that is one thing. And second thing that we see is that, let's say an FIR is filed also, then in that case it is dismissed very quickly. So difficulty in filing, and after registration, it is more likely to be dismissed in the courts. So a gender bias may be perceived. So gender bias, I'm using a softer word. Article says visible, saying a softer word. Gender bias may be perceived over here. And it is reflective of a multi-stage discrimination. So at the level of police, at the level of courts, multi-stage discrimination. Further, when they are filing the FIR, as I said, there are police is hesitant in filing. So they are asked to either wait longer at the police station, they are discouraged, and they are counseled to take back their complaints. Right? So difficulty in filing, same point over here. So that's come to light. And giving example of court, it is saying that when it comes to the court, we have seen that this two high court judgments are mentioned, recent judgments. So one is Madhya Pradesh High Court, this Rajan versus State of Madhya Pradesh, where the court highlighted the issue of misuse of Section 498, cruelty to women. And he said that this case is like women-related case is a package of 5 cases against a husband and in-laws. Then in Calcutta case, Swapan Kumar Das versus State of Bengal, it referred to the cases used by women as unleashing legal terrorism. Legal means to has the husband's family. That is what is implied. Okay. So at the court also, that perception is there, and at the police also, difficulty in filing the FIRs. There may be some issues of misuse, but largely we are seeing this trend. Okay. Now, how can this be addressed? So some steps are mentioned. So we need to have more women in the police stations. At present, women contribute 50% of the population, but the representation is only 11.7% in the police. Then we need greater sensitization and training at different levels, from police to the benches, from Thana to the bench. So one is the gender dimension in the criminal justice system. So that is one thing. Then overall, we can say, let's say there is a question associated with the issues only with the criminal justice system. And there you can mention the dimension of gender. I feel that is more likely to be asked if it is asked. Bias in the machine. These WhatsApp stickers and all. Just a second. Okay, so lost all the articles, fine. So WhatsApp stickers that you have when you use WhatsApp. Okay, so it is showcasing Palestinian, if somebody types Palestine, search of a sticker. So it is showing boys holding guns and angry faces. While when it comes to Israel, some Israel soldier, etc., pleasing person not holding a gun, smiling. So these things that are prepared, these are not really done by human beings. It is done by AI and machine learning. So generative AI is being used for this purpose. Now this is symptomatic of technology dehumanizing people, dehumanizing Palestinian Muslims, right? Technology is doing it. Now, how is technology doing it? Technology is learning from the human society, and that is being replicated over here. That's the basic thing. So some sort of regulation should be there. Some tweaking needs to be done so that this does not happen. Otherwise, this will further perpetuate the biases and the discrimination that we have within the society, because they will learn from our patterns in the machines, and then they will emulate the same. From predator to prey. Predator is social media company Meta. To prey means now they are become a prey. So it is talking about this court case where number of petitions have been filed against Meta by parents, where parents of adolescents actually. So just summarize it over here. So they have filed a case and they're saying that, see, the use of social media on adolescents is creating a negative mental health effect on them. There was this UK girl who was watching suicide related videos and eventually ended up committing suicide. Then we all know this social media, we want to look good and everything. So girls particularly, they're having this body image issue. We couldn't find the scientific word for this. There was one. So body image issues, inferiority complex with respect to their bodies, even though they're fine, but that perception is there. Then I'm adding some points now. Social media, they target the people, they profile the adolescents, and it tries to shape their political viewpoint. It tries to sometimes, fan communal hatred, communal tension, sentiments. When that is done, more user engagement is seen. So, I actually tried some communal this thing also, flagged it also, but it doesn't act. And I feel that is the reason they want this thing to take place so that they get more user base, more advertisers, more money. Okay. So these are the things. Now, the allegation is the social media. So, what is the role of social media company here? So, they're deliberately doing it. Algorithm is deliberately targeting adolescent population because they are the ones that are most likely to be impressioned. Next, so that is that. They are profiling the citizens, profiling the people, users without consent, so that they can be bombarded by the advertisers. And besides this, we can add the issue of wastage of time. Some number of hours are used. You can add this. I missed the link actually. Then short attention span with the TikTok and everything. 15 seconds scrolling takes place. In fact, you don't even decide what to watch next. You keep doing that. And for hours, you may end up wasting hours. So short attention span, and of course, it is affecting the human judgment and sensibilities also. Now, if Meta loses, they have to make a payment of $5,000 for every violation, which can be a very massive amount. So they're concerned about this. And it could also be that they have to disclose the algorithm that they are using. Okay, very short now. Israel cuts off North Gaza from rest of territory. So Israel, Gaza, West Bank. So north of Gaza would be Israel itself, right? So they don't want people from Palestine from Gaza to come into Israel. So here they are bombarding, and this is the Rafah crossing. From Rafah, you can enter into the Sinai Peninsula, which is Egypt. So they want people to evacuate and move towards Egypt. That is the strategy. Blinken ends Middle East visit. Yesterday there was an editorial on this. Okay, so he ends Middle East visit. He visited the following. He visited Israel. He visited the Palestinian president Abbas, then Jordan, Cyprus, and Iraq. Occupied West Bank is also mentioned. Okay. And there he said that Blinken had said that there should be humanitarian pause. He's not calling for a truce, right? That cessation of violence. He's not saying Israel is striking, keep striking, but please give us humanitarian pause. So some respite should be given. That is one. So Arabs do not agree with this because they want complete truce, and the Israel is also not happy with giving pause. They want to continuously bombard and kill. Okay, so that is one thing. Second is what was that? Release of hostages. Hamas is saying that we will release hostage when violence stops. Israel is saying that we will continue bombing till the time hostages are not released. I really doubt if they're alive right now. With both ways, I mean. China, Australia agree to cooperate, welcome change in IC relations. The bad relations, Australia and China. By the way, you can visualize China, Indonesia, Australia. Bad relations. So the relations worsened actually when Australia and China was believed to be close. Something happened with regards to the 5G technology. 5G was introduced. They were concerned about like companies like ZTE, Huawei Communist Party has a role in that. So 5G may be used for spying, etc. Then Australia decided to become part of the Malabar exercise, which was mainly India, US, and Japan trilateral exercise. So Australia becomes part of it and becomes Quad. China does not like it. There is intensification of tensions. Then trade related warfare started between the two. So trade barriers were increased. So much so that one of the ministers from China had said that we will fire missiles on Australia. The relations were really bad. Okay. Viral Rashmi, we are on the economy section. Viral Rashmika Mandana video spotlights big tech's deepfake problem. Same thing which we discussed as covered. You want to read, just type this, you'll get it. Okay. And, crude prices have gone up, by the way, 87 to 88. Okay. Next. Center is confident about meeting fiscal deficit target for fiscal year 2024. And it says that not much impact from food subsidy. Department of Expenditure is saying this. Not much impact from food subsidy. And where is the subsidy coming? Which scheme? Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. But previously they had noted that post-COVID, the fiscal deficit is already very high and these schemes should not be extended. Previously they had said this. Okay, so that is one thing. Now they are saying it will not affect. Second is, they are saying the crude price rise is a bigger worry. Right. So crude prices rise is a bigger worry. You see, when the crude was at $60 per barrel, fuel prices were, let's say, rupees 80, 90, 100 rupees, 80, 90, 100, something like that. So this meant that the government has basically $60 per barrel would be like 30 rupees per liter. So 70 rupees is the margin for the government. It is now coming to $88 per barrel. Obviously, less fiscal room for the oil, right? So less room for the government. And other thing is that one is this price is increasing. Other thing is dollar is also appreciating. Rupees depreciating, dollar is appreciating. So they have to spend here also and dollars also. So the crude price rise is a bigger worry. Then there is also a mention of fertilizer subsidy. Moving on, credit rating agency Fitch has hiked India's growth outlook by 70 basis point. That is 0.7%. So it is now projecting India's GDP to grow by 6.2%. So Fitch releases its report known as Global Economic Outlook. This can be asked in the prelims. Okay. And for emerging economies in general, the outlook has been fairly positive. While, yeah. So we have increased Mexico and Poland's potential growth. Automobile retail sales dip. So an indication of activity in the economy, and this is happening at a time when the buying season is there. Thali meal prices drop by up to 7%. How does it concern us? So it's very simple way of identifying food inflation. Thali, what all things are required to, what is the cost, fuel cost, etc. So on that basis. So that prices have come down. So it's an indication of inflation getting managed.